So getting started in the library, just so you know, this is the library section. We have, you can see there's checkout, check-in, loans, fines. This is the catalog. It's speaking about all the books that are in here. And once you create codes, being able to create a barcodes list. This more, you can look at your keywords and you can perform a stock take. For the purposes of this introduction video, we aren't going to look at doing a stock take. We're just going to look at adding resources to the library. So currently in this library, we don't have anything. So I'm just going to search. I'm just using a val. So that's in there. So now when we go through, so there's nothing there, we can add a new book item, a new item, sorry. And it can be different types of library resources that you add. So you can have different types over here. So this is one way where you can add them in. What you do here is you add a resource and then you can add copies to the resource. So you add the main resource and then you keep adding copies, and then each copy will be, for example, will have its own unique barcode, so that when you're checking out a copy of the item. All right. So we have this, okay, where we can add. I'm just going to show you another setting here. So when we go into import and export, if you already have an existing catalog, you can click on import and generate a template. Before you work in here, just take note of that if you're going to put in keywords, please use that particular symbol to separate multiple keywords. It's not an I. On your keyboard, I think it should be next to the enter key, the enter or the return key. So you'll be able to add that in. So here we have the option to generate a template. So you can download it, fill it out. Obviously, if you have multiple of the same book, you're going to put that multiple times, and then each one will have its own barcode. Okay, so then you'll be able to get in all of your copies as well. So you're actually doing it per barcode, if that makes sense. So you'll see we have all of these fields. When you do the upload, it will tell you when stuff is missing. So the more you work with it, the better you will get at performing the import. For us today, we're just going to focus on getting something in here. So let's just, I'm just going to say that I have not a video. That's unhelpful. I have some kind of multimedia, and I am going to call this test resource. Okay, when you're adding like this, you'll see that only certain ones have the asterisk, so those are the ones that are required. All of this is stuff that you'd normally put in. I know you'd have the ISBN and all of that, but we aren't going to put in any of the information. Having that information is helpful because it eases searches and stuff like that. And also, if you allow the library to be viewed by the student from the student portal, they can then search for a resource. Obviously, they can't check it out or anything, but they can then search for a resource and be able to see an overview of it, and then they'll know what's going on with it. Right, so we'll leave the language as English. It's not fiction. It's not illustrated. It's not a bibliography. And it's not an index. So we'll leave those out. We can put this in, and you'll see that okay, it says only enter values here if they're different from the ones specified in settings. So what it's saying is, if in settings, library, you have a set loan period and a fine and a grace period already done, whatever you put in here will be an override for that. So yeah, you'd put in the standard thing, but maybe you have a special resource and students can't take it out for 2 weeks. They can only take it out for 1 week for some reason, because maybe it's a limited resource. So you'd put that in to say that this only has 7 days, it has 1 day's grace, and we're going to give them, in our currency, 10 Rand fine per day. Okay. So, right, just put save. Right. So we're going to make up an accession number, and we need to give it some kind of a code. So generally people would have, maybe they've got a pre-bought set of barcodes that they'll then just allocate to the item. Currently I don't have one, so I'm just going to do that. When you have an actual library, maybe at your multiple campuses, you can then select a venue. Venues are set up in settings, and you'll see that there are venues. So when you're setting up a venue, for example, you can have maybe an external venue, but you could actually call one of your venues library. So when you add it, you just campus and you give it a name and a code. You can set the capacity of that space if you want to. It could be for different reasons. But yeah, I'm just going to leave it as on-site other. I'll say that this book is worth 2,500. It's a hardcover book. We can add a supplier. So when we come here, what we're doing is we create these different ones, and then we can give them a category. So let's say Van Skyk is one of them that we've added, and we can say, okay, this company is also let's just not do anything with that company. Let's just do company types. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to add a thing and just say give it a category of resources for library. Right. So I'm going to say Van Skalk is also for resources. Right, and we know that resources are linked to the library. Okay, so when we go back to the library, so you should have all of your suppliers set up first. Okay, so we have our resource, so I'm now going to add a copy, generate that, put in my code. Okay, now I can choose Van Skalkwijk. See that there's a restriction here on the code length. So obviously it's active loanable at the moment. We said it was going to be 25,000, hardcover. Okay, so we save. So this is the manual method of doing it. Then we now have this book available. Right? Can add multiple copies. If we had two of these things that we wanted to put together, we can merge them so that we only have one set of records. But now that we have an item, I want to be able to check this item out. And I'm going to do this with 480655. So when we check something out, normally you'd have like a student card that you could scan. Then you'd be scanning the library book. So yeah, we wouldn't actually be typing this in. We'd scan their student card and then it'll bring that up there. Then we'd say that this is the book we want to check out, and now it has been checked out. All right. So if I now went to test and search, you see that that book is out, and it will show you who it's actually with currently when it's searched for. Right. So I now go to check in, and the student returned it. Checked in, you store the check-in time. So when I come here, you see it's back in. So I'm just going to check this out again. Okay, so you see that it's out, and you have the option to renew it if you're giving a student an extension, but it's due in 7 days. So if I go to loans, he's one of the loans. So you'll be able to come to your loan section and actually search if you wanted to. Or you could go and check the main listing itself, and then you'll be able to see what's happening with your copies and who has them. And then obviously, if we check this back in, so you have your records here of your check-ins. Okay. Nothing's out on loan currently. So you have your check-ins. So now we come in and we have a look. So this book is back in. So that is the basic part of the library, just so that you have an understanding that this is how it works. Obviously, on staff, there are library controls and different things, but this is the gist of how the library works. Okay, hopefully you found the summary useful.